Sometimes we find ourselves falling in love and being committed to people who do not have a mutual feeling towards us. No matter how hard you tried to show them the true meaning of love, but they preferred looking for it outside their marriage, breaking the vows they had made in front of their families, friends, and God Himself. It gets even worse when they get into marriage knowing very well that they were not ready for the commitments. Some break their vows just because they were seeking for fun outside their marriage. What do you call that? I had thought I had chosen well. I thought I had found the one, only to find out that I had been a fool for the longest time. I was deceived by the person that I had given myself to. She was not ready for the commitment like I was. She should have said something. She should have told me that she was not ready not to lead me on. These are the things that cause us depression as men. Does anyone know the feeling or a glimpse of what I was going through? If there is, how did you deal with it? I would always ask myself where I had gone wrong, what it that I was not doing, was I not satisfying her enough? I was failing to get answers no matter how hard I had tried to come up with answers. Maybe she saw me as less of a man. That was the only relevant answer I had managed to come up with. Though it didn't make sense, it was the most relevant one that I had come with. Let me tell you about what actually happened. I, M40, am naturally a quiet and reserved guy. I respected my peace, which was why you wouldn't find or see me arguing most of the time. I try by all means to keep and maintain the peace around the environment I am in. So my ex-wife and I met a while back when I was working at the mines called Bowlby Mine in the United Kingdom. I would go home to Cleveland once every 6 months, so the time I met her, I was coming from work. It had been a long time since I'd been home. So I was in town, in one of the retail stores in my hometown, doing some grocery for my family. That time I had been gone for the whole year. I couldn't get a chance to go back home because I was the miner's supervisor, so I had to oversee everything that was happening at work and to make sure that the workers did their jobs perfectly. So I saw this beautiful lady. She was in the store also going with her blind grandmother. As she was busy picking things, the grandmother went to another grocery aisle while she was still looking at products to buy. When she turned, she didn't see her grandmother, which made her panic. So I approached her and told her that her grandmother had gone to another aisle. She rushed there, leaving the shopping cart alone. I then took it upon myself to follow her. I found her arguing with her grandmother. I then disturbed them to give her the shopping cart she had left when she was looking for her grandmother. She appreciated the kind gesture. That time, I had just finalized my divorce with my ex-wife. It was a very hard time for me because I was out there in the mines working for us and our family, but she couldn't wait for me to come back. She moved on, and the worst part was that I found out that she was dating my neighbor. That was the worst betrayal I had ever experienced in my life. Fast forward, I bumped into this beautiful lady again as I was taking a walk around my hometown. We started talking. From that moment, we just clicked. Then we exchanged numbers and started getting along. She would text me whenever she needed help with her grandmother, only when I was around. We communicated a lot over the phone when I went back to work. Our communications were great, no lies. She made me smile and always managed to brighten up my day when I had a rough one at work. I fell for her the day we started communicating. She was able to soften my heart, and she made me feel complete. I worked hard to get my early retirement. That time I was 32, and I had wished to retire or find another job not far from my hometown, then get married at 35. I had already pictured myself spending my whole life with her, starting our own family. But I guess some wishes and dreams are not always supposed to be fulfilled. Did I really count chickens before they hatched? A year later, I went back home. Things were really hard for me because I had just lost my mother, and I was not able to be present on her send-off. It was really hard working in the mines because when you are inside the mine shaft, you cannot connect and communicate with people who are outside. We were in the shaft for about a week. It was hectic. So when I managed to get outside, I had found so many missed calls and messages from Catherine, my wife, F38, and my family. The first thing I thought of when I saw all the messages and missed calls, I decided to call Catherine first because I still wanted her to be my girlfriend. Not just a friend, but I wanted more, so I had to try by all means to make sure that I get here, and I gave her enough attention. After I had spoken to Catherine, I then called back my family to check up on them, and I was told that my mother was sick. That broke my heart because there was nothing I could have done. The only thing I managed to do was to send money and ask them to take my mother to a better doctor. But I guess even the better doctor was not able to treat and heal her. 2 weeks later, I was told that my mother didn't make it. The worst part was that she died asking for me. My heart was shuttered. After I heard about my mother's passing, I vowed to myself to resign from work that year and go back home, because I had realized that life was too short, so I had to spend it with the people that I love and are close to my heart. I didn't want to lose Catherine before I had even got her. Then a year later, I stepped down as a supervisor and resigned from the mine. I had saved enough money to at least start a small business that would grow over time. I went back home and started communicating more with Kathy. We grew much closer, and the connection was there. We started spending more time together. The money that I had saved, I started a car wash and fast food business. Kathy helped me on the fast food part because she had a lot of experience in cooking, and she was really business-minded. My family was very much supportive, even though my older sister didn't like the idea that I had taken Catherine to work with me while they were not doing anything. I didn't understand the jealousy because my sister was working at a nearby gadget shop as a manager. Everyone was doing something. My brother was always in the streets, so I couldn't use or take him to work for me and Kathy. On another hand, she was hustling to take care of her blind grandmother. She was doing nothing but selling her body in exchange for money. I was shocked when she first told me that, but I understood the pressure she was feeling because she was living with her grandmother who was blind and her sister's disabled teenager. Her story is really sad, which was what made me choose her to work with me so she can make a decent living. I couldn't allow her to continue selling her body because I had seen a wife and my lifetime partner in her. Well, Kathy and I were working very well together. Customers were coming. I was happy with the progress of my business. I had hired a few more girls and guys around the neighborhood to work for me. People were coming in numbers. Kathy and I got closer each day. Our friendship went on for a year until I couldn't hold myself anymore. I expressed my feelings to her. I was so nervous when I did that because I didn't know how she would receive it, but I had to man up and put all my feelings to the table so that she would see how serious I was about her. She was shocked about my confession, but there was no turning back. I had already laid my feelings on the table for her. She got mute for a moment and asked to think through about my sudden confession. I didn't know what was there to think about because if she had felt the same way as me, she would have given me the answer the same day. I think that was really childish of her. So I allowed her to take her time to think. That time she didn't come to work for 3 days. She was also not answering my calls and texts. I got worried and thought something had happened to her. So on the 4th day, she came to work and apologized for her behavior. I didn't care about her apologies, but I wanted to know her decision on the confession that I had made. I was shaking on my boots thinking she would reject me. I had never been in any relationship or tried to be in a relationship after my ex-wife, so it was somehow strange to me having to confess my feelings to a woman. For most of my adult life, I was in the mines working for my family, but I guess my ex didn't appreciate the hard work I was doing, so she got tired of waiting for me to come back home after 6 months or a year. I understood her impatience because I would come home for a month or 2, then go back to the mines. It was draining her. So since I was back, I wanted to start my life afresh with Kathy. I don't know why I saw my future with her. I wanted her to feel important as a woman, not a sex toy that would be sold in the streets to make easy money. So she told me that she had thought through what I had confessed to her, and that she had fears that I would someday leave her. Plus, she was ashamed of her background. She thought she was not my type of woman I would want to be with. That confused me because if I would do all that she had said, I wouldn't have bothered expressing my feelings to her. To me, I saw a wife, a mother of my children, my life partner, She was my happiness. Yes, I had been in a relationship before, but it was not the same. I wanted her to feel some love and feel like a woman, not a doormat. She had a low self-esteem issue which I was willing to also help her with so she could be herself and be free. But I guess you can take someone out of the street, but you can never take the street out of them, right? I had to assure her that her past meant nothing. All that mattered was that she was willing to change for her family and do better. Since then, the relationship was formed, though she had self-doubts, but we worked hard to ensure that she accepted herself as she was. She kept reminding me that she was not perfect, which was what would make us argue at times because I wanted her to be her better self. but she kept going back to where she was. I don't know what was done to her by the clients she was selling to, but whatever it was had really disturbed her. So it was not easy for her to trust any man, I think. Anyway, our relationship had ups and downs, just like all relationships. The only thing we would argue about was her low self-esteem and communication. Kathy was not an open person. She was secretive, so it somehow got into our relationship, but we managed to fix all that over time. 5 months later, she was slowly healing from whatever trauma she had gone through, though she was not opening up as I had wanted her to, but she was getting there, and our communication improved. I was happy about that because she was slowly becoming the person I had wanted her to be. I then discovered that she was a person who loved going out. She was adventurous, and she loved cooking. Her cooking skills were on another level. My fast food business was proof of that because she was the one in charge of cooking. I knew there and then that she was the wife material. She had all the qualities I wanted and needed in a woman, so I was sure that I had chosen well, and she would never change on me. You know when you are sure that someone would never change on you and you get too comfortable in a relationship, to a point that you won't even believe it when things go south. So we dated for a year and a half, then I proposed to her on her birthday. My sister knew something deep about Kathy, but she wouldn't tell me, because I had seen how she reacted when I announced my engagement with Catherine. She was somehow angry and kind of disappointed in me. Her words were, "After your divorce with Anna and going back to the mines, I had thought you would come back a better person and choose, well, not the second season of what you married the last time." I didn't understand any of the things she had said because I had thought Anna got tired of waiting and found another man who would give her enough time and attention that I had failed to do. How was my situation with Anna connected to my engagement with Kathy? I think my sister was kind of bitter and jealous because she was going through a breakup with the father of her children. There was a lot that my sister was hiding from me, but I knew that whatever happened in the dark would always find its way to come out to light. Kathy and I got married after 6 months. I wanted to marry a month after I had proposed to her, but she wanted to first look for her father's family members so they would be present in the wedding. I didn't understand why she was so interested in finding her father's family members, because if they had wanted to be present in her life, they would have, and it wouldn't be hard for them to attend the wedding. But what woman wants, she should get to keep her happy. I helped her look for her father's family, and to my surprise, they were not far from our hometown. They just didn't want to be present in her life, because even her father was alive and healthy. I was not surprised when the family she had spent the whole 6 months looking for did not come to the wedding. The wedding continued, though, and we had the best moment of our lives. I was happy that I had gotten a chance to spend my life with the woman my heart had chosen. I wished my mother was present to witness my happy ending. Not knowing that my happy ending would actually end sooner than I had expected, and my heart had chosen the worst breaker of it. Sometimes I don't understand why our hearts choose the wrong people to guide them, because I had given my heart to Catherine and she used it and stomped on it like a useless piece of paper. We got married when she was 25 and I was 27. I knew that that was the perfect age to get married to the love of your life. I mean, with Anna, I was still young and I was still trying to find my feet after I was fresh out of college. So it was understandable that would do something like what she did. A couple of months into our marriage, I had been trying to get Kathy pregnant. We were not using any protection because as much as she was a body seller, she made sure to protect herself. Her words, not mine. And we had gone to the health department to check if we were both okay, and everything came back negative. That was when we started going raw. So I kept trying to make her fall pregnant, but nothing was happening, which made me suspicious, because if everything was fine with her, she would have gotten pregnant the time we tried for a baby. My mind kept telling me that she was hiding something. I didn't know what, but whatever it was sinister. But I trusted that she would never make me a fool, at least not like that. When I asked her why she was not falling pregnant, because it had been months since we had started trying, she would always avoid the question and change the topic. The matter got worse when I had suggested that we went to the doctor to check efficiently if she was really fine. But she just busted and wanted to bite my head off. I then knew that something was smelling fish in her actions, but I couldn't tell her that. So I backed off, as much as I wanted a child to grow my family name and my legacy. But it was her body after all, and I had to respect her and her decisions. That time we were still living at home with my family, We decided to take her late sister's child and her grandmother to live with us because they wouldn't be able to take care of themselves or even live alone. Well, more like I came up with that idea. She was a bit skeptical at first, but she eventually agreed after she had thought about her family's well-being, and I needed my wife next to me at all times. The business was going pretty well, and Kathy was still doing great in her kitchen department. The fast food business was growing because we had opened another spot outside our hometown. I was so proud of the woman she had become. I fell in love with her every single day. She kept me sane, and her communication progress was fully accomplished. Well, not fully, but she was getting there. One summer afternoon, we had decided to go out as a family. Well, more like taking Grandma and the niece out for some fresh air. I wanted my sister and brother to tag along also, but my sister's bitterness was really on another level, and she didn't even try to hide it. And my brother was always on the streets as usual. I wished my family was still intact, just like how it was when my mother was still alive. Yes, my brother was always on streets, but he was always available when it was time to spend with the family. My own family had fallen apart, and it really hurt me, because I needed them. So I went out with my wife's family. We had a lot of fun. She was happy, and so was her niece and grandmother. That was all I had wanted to see on her face. Happiness and freedom. Her smile was my priority. And another thing, she had started attending college because she wanted to get a qualification in cooking, so she had sold their old house to pay for her fees. I supported her in her dreams. She made me proud to be her man and to call her my wife. I just don't know what went wrong, but something went wrong and ruined everything. She was doing a very good job in maintaining our family plus school and fast food business, as much as we had hired 2 people that would be hands-on in the kitchen department when she was at school, but she made sure that whenever she got time, she was taking charges. She loved to be in charge, and she was dedicated to everything she did. A couple of months later, her grandmother passed on in her sleep. None of us knew what had happened that had led to her passing. My wife was devastated. She was really hurt. She had shut me out to a point that she eventually went back to the Kathy she distanced herself even from her niece, so I had to take charge and take care of everything, including her niece and business. She grieved the wrong way, but I made sure to be there for her during the whole grieving period she was going through. I couldn't get through to her. It was like she had a demon or she was possessed, and that possession led her to making bad decisions. I was only relieved that she didn't lose herself to a point that she went back to selling her body. We had money, so she didn't need to do that. Her grandmother's passing really hurt her and her niece because the niece also started getting sick. Mind you, Kathy was wherever the place that she was in, so I had to take responsibility for her niece's health and make sure she got better treatment. It was really hard on me also because the niece couldn't bathe herself since she was disabled, so I had to do that. It was uncomfortable, I tell you, but I had to do what the best husband had to do. The time went by and I saw that Kathy was not getting over the grief period, so one day when she came back home intoxicated to a point that she couldn't even remember her name. So I called the rehabilitation facility that was around our hometown and admitted her to the facility. I had to do something right. I missed my wife. I was also not able to cope with all the responsibilities I had. By God's grace, I had managed to fix things with my sister, even though she was still not telling what her problem was with Catherine. But I was glad that I had gotten my sister back. She helped me a lot, especially with her niece. She was truly helpful. And my brother was slowly becoming available at home, which was another thing I was happy about. 6 months later, Catherine got discharged from the facility. I was happy about the improvement she had made. She became the person I fell in love with the day I saw her in the grocery store. She was doing way better than I had imagined. Even though her niece was happy to see her, my heart was full and complete. I had everything. My family, my wife, everything was just great, Little did I know that a cheater never changes its spots, right? I was so much in love and comfortable to even think of what would happen in the future. So at the car wash, I had hired an old friend of mine that I had grown up with to manage it during the time when I was home taking care of the niece. He was doing a very good job and the business was booming, the money was coming in, and I had nothing to worry about. A year later, or let me say 9 months later, I bought a small house not far from home because my wife was complaining about her peace and privacy. Her and my sister were not getting along, and it affected me somehow because I wanted my sister to get along with my wife, but on my side, that was not the case. It was like they were cat and dog. They were always arguing. So I decided to investigate the issue my sister had with my wife. My conscience kept telling me that whatever it was really dark and deep. I couldn't shake off the feeling that either my wife or sister once did something to someone else. I knew that my sister would never just hate someone without a valid reason, and their issue was not solvable. There was really no solution to it. So my solution was to find the root of the problem. During my investigation and findings, I found out that my wife was actually in a paid relationship, or must I say she had a transactional regular client, which kept buying whatever service she was offering. And that person turned out to be my sister's baby daddy. Unfortunately, my sister found out, and she was livid because whatever that it was had happened when my sister was pregnant. I remember very well that my sister was always in and out of hospital because of pregnancy complications due to the stress she was caused by her then boyfriend. I couldn't believe it, I had blamed my sister for being bitter and thought she was jealous of my relationship because hers didn't work out, not knowing that my wife was actually the cause of all this. Well, not really my wife, because she didn't ask the boyfriend to come for her service, but he did it willingly. So both of them were victims in the situation. Time went on. My sister started warning me about Kathy, saying that she had heard that Catherine was two-timing me. I was like, here we go again. I didn't know what the problem was with my sister, really. Yes, my wife had done wrong by her, but she had no reason to hate her, because she didn't know that the client that had approached her was actually my crazy sister's unfaithful and selfish baby daddy. It had been a couple of months since we had moved out from home. My sister was not happy about that as usual. She had thought I was choosing my wife over her after what my wife had done to her. But that was not the case. I had chosen peace, and I was fed up hearing them barking at each other every day. Their arguments made me do something I had never thought I would have done to my sister. I slapped her and defended my wife because she was starting to be a nuisance, not knowing that I was making the biggest mistake of my life. So one day I received a call from my sister asking me to come home. She wanted to discuss something with me. So I drove home and found my sister along with one of the guys that were working at my car wash. I was confused about what was going on. In my mind, I had thought they were going to tell me that they were dating maybe. My sister then started telling me that she wanted to show me something, so I gave her a go-ahead. The guy took out his phone and told me to scroll on the pictures he was showing me. I was still confused about why they would call me to show me the pictures of my wife in a car wash. As I continued scrolling, one picture caught my attention. It was my wife looking cozy with the car wash manager. They were sitting too close to each other. Even a child would have seen that something was going on between the two. So I decided to take this guy with me because I was going to the car wash, since I was already around the neighborhood. When I got there, some of my trusted workers were not there. So I asked the guy where others were, and he told me that the manager had fired them. I was surprised and angry that he had fired people I trusted, so I went straight to the manager's office. But before I got in, I overheard the manager and my wife talking. My wife was sitting on his lap. The manager kept nodding. I then heard my wife telling the manager that she wanted him and asked him to allow her to enjoy the night together. My mouth got dry in an instant. As I was still eavesdropping, I heard the manager telling her that I was his childhood friend, so it was wrong of him to even agree to betray me. I didn't know why he was saying all that while he was busy chowing my wife. I trusted him, I trusted them, but both of them screwed me over. So I just decided to go back home without even asking the manager about the workers' issue. I was furious. I wanted to explode so bad because both of them had fooled me. Not to mention that bitch I had called a wife. She had gone against her vows of being faithful and betrayed me. Not with a random person, but with the person I had considered a friend. Luckily, I had left the niece with my sister back at home. I couldn't allow her to see me angry. I was frustrated. I couldn't believe that I had been a fool the whole time. I wanted to find out when their affair had started, so I waited for my wife to come back home so I could go through her phone. Maybe I would find something tangible. A few hours later, she came back looking happy. I pretended that I was fine, as much as it was hard to pretend, but I had to, so that I would be able to gather evidence that she was really cheating. If I had asked her straight away, she would have denied it, even though I had seen and heard them. That day, she didn't even kiss or hug me like she would do when she came from wherever she would be. That day, she went straight to the bathroom to take a shower, saying she was tired and she wanted to wash off the sweat she had. So when she was in the shower, I got a chance to take her phone. Luckily, I knew her passcodes, so it was not a struggle to unlock it. What I found out when I paged her phone almost took me to an early grave. I couldn't believe it. The conversations they were having were mostly about me. She was degrading my capabilities as her man. She even told the guy that she was regretting marrying me because I was a boring guy and not sexually satisfying her. I was hurt beyond measure because I had thought everything was going well and our intimate moments were good. She never told me anything about her not being satisfied. As I continued going through their conversations, I found out that they once had a transactional relationship before. Surely that was when she was still selling her body. So she sold herself to the person I had been calling a friend and a brother for all the days of my life. Who are women, huh? Why are they so evil and venomous? These female species would really murder you and bury your body outside the yard, then live their lives like they had done nothing. But I couldn't allow her to just fool me like that and think I would not stay back and eat popcorn with her. The fact that they were even sharing their private pictures reeked me to the core. I hate people who treat other people as fools and think they could get away with everything. I forwarded the conversations and the pictures to my emails. I couldn't risk forwarding them to my phone because she would sometimes use it. Weeks later, I got tired of pretending, so I called our family lawyer and asked her to draft me divorce papers. Luckily, we were not married into any joint commune, so she would get anything that I had worked hard for. The only person who I thought about was the niece because she was going to be in the middle of everything. But I couldn't let them go free after they had made me a fool. So I had created a fake email account the day before. I went to the car wash to check how things were. When I got there, I fired the manager and asked him to check his emails. The look he had on his face was priceless. I then cut off our friendship since he had broken the bro code. I told him to forward them to the wife. When I got home, I found Catherine looking so livid. It was like she had seen a ghost or something. I greeted her and she started apologizing about everything and promised to change. Well, not all promises are meant to be kept because even when we started dating, she promised to be a better person than she was. Our whole relationship, she had been making promises after promises. Didn't she get tired? Because I got tired. A few days later, she was served with divorce papers. Then I asked her to sign them in peace. I was not going to be greedy. She was my wife, and she had a disabled niece, so I opted to leave her the house that we were staying in since she had sold her grandmother's house to pay for her studies. It was the least I could have done. I was not thinking of her well-being, but her niece's. She started throwing shades at me on social media, causing drama and calling me names, not thinking what he was doing was not going to affect me in any way. She wrote about my weaknesses as a man on a public platform and shared with the whole world how much she regretted marrying a non-satisfying man like me. As much as those things bruised my man ego, but I didn't care much about any of them. After our divorce was finalized, I transferred her money just to appreciate her for the help she gave me and the work she did in the fast food business. No lies, she had done an amazing job. So I had to show her that I saw her hard work and I appreciated it. A few days later, she called me and asked why I had cut her off everything, including the fast food business. I then told her that the money I had given her would have been enough for her to start her own business and fix her life for the sake of her niece. I didn't hate her. Even now, I do not hate her. But I do not want our paths to ever cross again. She had fooled me too much. Was I too ignorant to even notice or pay attention to anything? Was I trusting too much? Please advise me.